right, enough BS. It's time to get honest, I think. What I mean by that is that when you see a series of pictures of somebody losing weight and losing weight and losing weight and going from bell shape to V cut, you're just seeing a bunch of pictures of somebody. You're not really seeing who they are or how they feel or what they're thinking or anything like that, or what their lifestyle is like. So I just want to get honest in this video about my weight loss journey and where I was and where I'm at. What inspired this video was that last October, Bradley Aiden Johnson took his channel in a new direction. His channel was mainly about fat loss and muscle building and strength training and stuff like that. And if you haven't checked it out, check it out. His name is Bradley Aiden Johnson. Some of what I say is like directly plagiarizing exactly what he said, and the reason I'm repeating it is because I really do feel strongly about it. So the reason I'm just citing him now is so that every single time I say something that he said, either exactly or paraphrasing, I don't have to say that Bradley said this, blah, blah, blah. My target audience is if you're somebody who you were out of shape at one point and then you got in shape, you started training harder, you started dropping a lot of weight, building muscle, and you hit a point where you felt like, yeah, you know, I'm in good shape now, but it's not enough. I want to be ripped, I want to be, and mainly my target audience is guys. You know, I want to be leaner, I want to, sorry about that, my dog saw a cat. So, when I talk about like, you know, the reality behind like six-pack abs and chasing that dream, I'm not talking about people who are bodybuilders on stage. You know, they're not doing that because of health and fitness. They're doing that because if you want to show off your muscles, you have to uncover the fat that's covering them. And I'm also who I'm not talking to is obese people. You know, if you're eating to the point that you're killing yourself with food, that requires, you know, there's something deeper going on there. That requires some kind of professional help or group therapy or whatever. What I want to talk about in this video is then what my state of mind was that made me look like this, and what was my what exactly I did that, you know, I ended up looking like that. And, you know, I didn't get the whole six-pack, lean, ripped, things like that, but I you know, did get a like V-shaped body. I got down to a weight that was like the lowest that I've ever been in my adult life. So this picture right here, as you can see, it's late June of 2014, and before that photo, so a couple months before that, in March, I again had felt that I was miserable with being restrictive about my food. I was trying to, you know, again, I had it was after my second attempt at trying to get lean enough so that my abdominals would show through, because that was really, really important to me. And so in March of 2014, I got to a point where I was like, you know what, screw this. I'm tired of, you know, being restrictive about, I can't eat this, I can't eat that. I was like, I don't give a crap. I'm just going to train hard and eat as much as I want. Well, I pigged out and I ended up looking like that. And by June, I basically started doing the If It Fits Your Macros before I even knew there was a such thing on YouTube called If It Fits Your Macros. And I'd eat mostly nutritious food, and I'd still eat the foods I wanted at the times I wanted. And so if I wanted to eat more carbohydrates at night, I would just tailor what I was eating throughout the day. So really my thing was like an if it fits your calories. I had dessert every single night. I was going out to eat once a week, once or twice a week. I would just factor it in my calories. And I was doing that consistently for 6 months. This is all easy to do when you've got a lot of body fat to lose. So when I was like almost 190 pounds, this is, you know, it's easy to, when you're losing weight on 3,000 calories a day, that's not that hard. And then, you know, towards the end, when I had this physique, by this point, in order to keep losing weight from this point on, I was down to about 2,000 calories. From past experience, I learned that I don't like eating 6 meals a day. I don't have time to sit there and prepare 6 meals a day, 7 days a week. I'm not going to do that. And so, you know, I would just eat twice a day. And so it's the same amount of calories, 2,000 calories twice a day. I love eating large amounts of food in the evening, and so I would eat like 500 calories for lunch. For dinner, I would eat, you know, 1,500 calories of dinner and dessert, which for a couple weeks that worked. I lost like 1 more pound. I was down to about 159 pounds. So it's like the closer I got to having ripped abs, the more I realized that this is a lifestyle that in order to permanently look like that, I would have to always go without in terms of food for the rest of my life, or at least like 99% of my life. Even if once in a while, like once every month, I could have like a day of cheating where I could just pig out all I want, that's still not something that's going to make me happy. That was the way I was at the beginning and the end of that little transformation, and the way I look right now is like this. This is my body fat. I tend to just kind of store fat like mostly around my stomach, and when I get the fattest that I've been, it starts storing up in my chest, but mostly around my stomach. And this is what I look like right now, and the honest, this is how I've been, kind of what I've maintained more or less for the last couple of months, and this is actually the fat level where I'm the happiest. Now, still, there is always a tiny part of my brain that would prefer to look leaner. There's always going to be a part of me that says how you appear is more important than what the reality of how you actually feel. But most of my brain realizes that's insane. It's completely insane to want to look good, but or look healthy, but then be completely unhealthy in the mind. And I'm not saying this because I want somebody to like change their ways, or I expect that like somebody else is going to be like, oh, you know what, you're right, like I have these fitness goals, but because you said something, Al, I'm going to change my mind and just say fuck it. I don't expect that at all. I think we all got to go through our own journeys, and I'm just sharing mine. Like, I know exactly what I would have to do in order to get leaner than in this photo. I would have to force myself to be a little bit more deprived. I would have to, in between meals, if I get hungry, I would have to like, guzzle down cans of vegetable soup, like, green beans and things like that, like really high fiber, extremely low calorie vegetables. I would have to do stuff like that. And that's not a way that you can live for the rest of your life. And so if you're somebody who, if I wanted to actually maintain being that lean, that ripped, cut, jacked, whatever the hell you want to call it, I would have to live that way every single fucking day for the rest of my life. And that is not something that would not make me happy, and it's like, let's cycle back to what, if you're somebody who, when you originally were looking in the mirror saying, you know what, like, I can't live like this anymore. I can't live to this other extreme where I'm stuffing my face constantly and just not giving a shit about what I'm eating. You wanted to make a change in your life, but what was the kind of underlying motivation? Was happiness, right? It's kind of like why we do anything almost, happiness, fulfillment, wholeness, oneness, whatever. And so when you move to that, that's like the spectrum, is like, I don't give a crap, I'm going to pig out, I'm going to treat my body like crap, I don't care, we're all going to die anyway, blah, blah, blah. And then you start moving towards, oh my God, I don't like the way I look anymore. I don't feel good. I don't look good. I need to like get active. I need to move my ass. And then you start losing weight. And then, you hit that sweet spot where it's like, great. I'm like, your body, you deep down inside, at this point you're happy. And your mind starts screwing with you and says, no, but it's not enough. I want to look. And you start going towards this other extreme where it's like, now I'm just so over restrictive that I can't stand having to live this way. I can't stand having to second guess every goddamn thing that I'm putting on my plate. And you really, deep down, that you're actually happier here. All these transformation videos on YouTube are telling you that no, this is actually the goal that I really want, and it's bullshit. It's not what you really want, and it's not what I really wanted. I should speak for myself. I had that struggle, and it's like when people are struggling at this point, and they're like, geez, it's like, I know that every day I'm at the point in my fat loss where the margin of error is so small. Like every day I have to, I can't go above X amount of calories. And then you see, you're not hungry, but you see somebody like, putting out a tray of cookies or something like that. And your mind starts screwing with you. Like, God, I just want to guzzle like, 2 or 3 of those. And then, like, why? I just don't have enough willpower. Well, it's not your willpower fighting against like some invisible evil force. It's, it's your will is just on, it's your will on another end. On one sense, you are very willing to live the way you're living. You are very happy with being in shape, not having to like think about food constantly and everything that's on your plate, but eating like a normal, adult, like eating just like a healthy person. And then on the other end, you're very willing to not look the way you want to look. And those two sides of your willpower are warring against each other. And I've decided at this point to like just realize like, you know what, it's very clear what I really want. And I think that's really important, is get honest with yourself about what it is you really want. If it's that much of a struggle that you're trying to look a certain way you don't need to look, and you're really fighting to look that way, it's pretty, you might win just by surrendering. You might win just by realizing that, all right, well, probably the reason that I'm driving myself so crazy is that I don't give a shit about any of this. If I go to the other end of the spectrum, like I was last year, where I was just like, screw this whole six-pack thing, and then I started pigging out, I got to a weight where I looked like this, and that also is the opposite end of the spectrum. I wasn't happy looking like that, because looking like that, I was just like constantly stuffing myself. I wasn't even hungry before meals because I was like snacking throughout the whole day. Even if it was on like nutritious foods, it was like just overeating. It's a really like, and there are people who will spend the rest of their lives just cycling through that whole spectrum of just like, I don't like the way I look, so I'm going to restrict how much I'm eating. Now I look good, but I'm sad. Now I look, really, really good, but like I'm sad without the food. And now I'm going to pig out more. I'm like, oh boy, I missed you so much. Why did I go so long without you? You delicious, amount of, but now I don't look so good. And it's just really sick. And that's no way to live. And I am, so it's like, I'm almost making a pact with myself now where, I don't want to spend the rest of my life, worrying about what my scale says. I'd rather spend the rest of my life thinking about things like, how's my muscle up technique? I really want to be able to get it from 3 muscle ups to 4 muscle ups. Spend, my life, focused more on what's important, and not worrying so goddamn much about like, just something, because really in the end, it's like all the times that somebody has said like, wow, you're leaning out, you look so cut, you look so good, hey, you're looking good, all that stuff, it just amounts to nothing. So I will end with something that Ido Portal said. I'm paraphrasing, it's not a direct quote, but what he said was, trying to work on a proficient body with the goal of aesthetics as a first is reverse engineering. It's like working on a nose. It's like a nose that doesn't have the ability to breathe, but it looks really good. It's always going to fail.